Okay, so just thought I'd go live for a little bit. I've got a couple of questions left over from last night that came through from Zoe, so I'll pop those on in a minute if I can see that Zoe's online. And if anyone else has got any queries, just get in touch. If nothing comes through, what I'll probably do is just carry on working through the June. Excuse me. I'll carry on working through the May 2017 paper 3H. Okay, so basically, if you've got any specific questions, you can either just take a photo of them and then send them through to me on my Twitter, which is @mathsbymrw, and I can pick up the questions from there. Or obviously, if it's something that you can just type, just include it in the chat on the right-hand side, and I'll see if I can get back to you. I've got a couple of questions from people from last night's feed, which I'll go over once I know they're online. So I think what I'll do, just until a few more people are watching, I'm just going to carry on looking at this 25th of May 2017 paper 3H from the IGCSE. So I've got up to question 9. So use ruler and compasses to construct the bisector of angle PQR. So we've basically got to put a line in here that splits this angle using only compass and rulers. So imagine this is a compass. So you put the pin here and you do a little arc for about here. Now the only purpose of that arc is to establish these two little points here and here. So move the pin of your compass over onto those 2 points, maybe increase the size of your arc a little bit, and do an arc from the point here, having your pin here, so that arc would be over here somewhere. And then the same size arc, put the pin over here, do another arc, be somewhere over here. And basically you then get your ruler out and you join the point from Q using a ruler right through there, and that will be splitting this angle in half. Okay, so you use your compass and your ruler to split the angle. Now, for question 10, solve this simultaneous equation. So we need to basically line up our x's or our y's. So I'm going to choose to line up our x's. So I've got 2x and 5x. So I'm going to want to have 10x for both of them. So if we call this equation 1 and we call this equation 2, I'm going to choose to take equation 1 and multiply it by 5. So that's going to give me, if I multiply all 3 terms by 5, That's going to give me 10x plus 35y equaling 5 times 31 is 155. Just check that. Short interval, getting tired. 31 times 5, 155. Yeah. Then we're going to take and we're going to multiply that by 3. So that's going to, what am I saying by 3? What am I talking about by 2? Okay, so we're doubling everything in equation 2. So that gives us 10x minus 6y equals 32. Now, I've got these two equations. Now, I want to eliminate the 10x's. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to take away the two equations from each other. Obviously, if I was to add the two equations together, I would get 20x. So I'm going to take away here. So 10x take away 10x is nothing. 35y minus 6y is basically 35. Add 6y, which is 41y. And 155 take away 32 is 123. So we've got 41y equaling 123. So 41y equals 123. If we decide to divide both sides by 41, we're going to get y equaling 123 over 41. 123 divided 41, which is 3. So we know that y equals 3. So to work out what x is, so take either of the equations that we started with. I'm going to take my 2x plus 7y equaling 31. And we've just worked out that y is 3. So substituting 3 in here, we're going to get 2x plus 7 lots of 3 equals 31. So 2x plus 21 equals 31. Taking away 21 from both sides, we're getting 2x equals 10. Divided by 2, we get x equals 5. So x equals 5, y equals 3. Okay. Let's have a look. Question 11. So the table gives information about the ages of all the 90 adults in a supermarket. One of these 90 adults is picked at random. Find the probability that this adult's age is more than 50 years. So more than 50 years. So you just got to understand what's going on here. We're saying 4 adults, their age is between 20 and 30. 28 adults, their age is between 30 and 40, and so on. So more than 50, it's going to be these 16 here, who are aged between 50 and 60. These 8 here, aged between 60 and 70. And these 4 here, aged between 70 and 80. So how many people is that in total? Add those up together and we get 28. So 28 people are aged 50 or over. So for a probability, best to give this as a fraction. So that's 28 over 90. That's our final answer. We're not asked to simplify it anywhere, so 28 over 90 is perfectly all right. If you want to simplify it, that would be 14 over 45. Okay, for part P, complete the cumulative frequency table for these 90 adults. So this is going to be a running total. So first of all, how many adults are between 20 and 30? Well, we know that's 4. Now, how many adults are aged between 20 and 40? Well, that's those who are aged between 20 and 30 and aged between 30 and 40. Aged between 20 and 30 and 30 and 40. So it's a running total. So it's the 4 add the 28, which is 32. 32 students are aged between 20 and 40. Hi, Lewis. All right. Right. How many are aged between 20 and 50? So it's going to be those who are aged between 20 and 30, 30 and 40, 40 and 50. So it's a running total of these three top numbers: 4 add 28 add 30. Well, we've got 32 already, so we're going to add another 30 to give us 62, and so on. So it's just a running total. For the age between 20 and 60, we're now going to add on the 16 to give us 78, then add on the 8 to give us 86, then add on the 4 to give us 90. And just double check, we finished on 90, there are 90 adults, so that's correct. Now, we then have to go and fill in the cumulative frequency graph. And the key point here is you plot the upper bound. So the points you are going to plot are going to be these upper boundaries here. So you're going to be plotting 30 and 4. So that's your first coordinate. 40 and 32. 50 and 62, and so on. Okay, so over here we're going to be plot 30 and 4, then 40 and 32, 50 and 62, 60 and 78, and 70 and 86, and 80 and 90. And then you just do a nice gentle curve with pencil, joining all of these points. Now, all of these adults with an age greater than 65 receive a discount on their shopping bill. Use your graph to find an estimate for the number of these adults who receive a discount. So they've got to be more than 65 years old. So here's our age. So there's 65. So go up, and I'll draw this line on your graph using a ruler. That crosses about there. So I'm getting a reading of about 82. Now we're being asked for the adults with an age greater than 65. So it's these adults up here. So it's this length here that I'm interested in. That's the number of adults. So it's 90 minus the 82, which is 8. So you know what's going over this paper while I wait for any possible questions to come in. And if any questions don't come in, I'll probably pack it in shortly, which is fine, unless you're all up to date with everything you want to do. And I do have a couple of queries that come in from kids at school by email, and I will address those too, but they're a bit too difficult for me to do on just do live, because I'll probably flounder a bit, and I'm going to need a bit of time on those. So those two questions that came in, one from the Core 2 book and one from I think it was a Solomon paper, I think. I'll do those the second that I finish streaming. So question 12, write this number in standard form. Now remember, for standard form, the first number has got to be between 1 and 10. So where would we put the decimal point to get a number between 1 and 10? That's going to be 4.51. And then it's times 10 to the something. And then really, this is a small number, so our power is going to be a minus. And then how many bunny hops have we got to move, if you like, the decimal point from where it is here to between the 4 and the 5? Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 hops. So 4.51 times 10 to the minus 4. And I think you can check this on your calculator. If you just go and do 4.51 times 10 to the minus 4, press equals, press the SD button. Oh no, mine isn't. Maybe you can't do that. I thought you could turn it into a normal number. Maybe not. Anyway, for part B, I would definitely do this by way to start with the calculator, and I would use this fractions button over here. So use the fractions button. Okay, and then put 7.8 times 10 to the 5 in the numerator. Go down with the arrow button, 2.5 times 10 to the minus 4 in the denominator. And that gives me 3, 2, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 noughts, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now that's all well and good. That would give me 1 mark out of 2, but I've got to give my answer in standard form. So that's going to be 3.25. Remember rule number 1, the number's got to be between 1 and 10, times 10 to the power of something. Now this power is going to be positive because this is a big number. So how many hops to go from a decimal point, which is effectively there to start with, to be between the 3 and the 2? Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hops. So our final answer is 3.25 times 10 to the 9. So if you've got any queries on any IGCSE or GCSE papers, you can either just write down what your queries are in the top chat. I think I've got most of the recent old IGCSE and GCSE Edexcel higher papers here, so I can just have a look at those. Or if you've got a specific question you want me to look at, you can just send it through to my Twitter on @Maths by Mr. W. Just let me know that you've done that, and I'll go and have a look at the Twitter and pick it up. I've also got a couple of questions from somebody from last night that I didn't pick up until after I'd finished the stream. So if that person comes on, I'll address those too. Right, we'll go on to question 13. Okay, so we're told that A has a height of 12 centimeters and a base diameter of 9, and B has a height of 8 and a base of D, and a base of D, work out the value of D. So we're just purely working in lengths at the moment, just working in length, so that's easy enough. We've got a length ratio. So if we look at the A to B and we're looking at the length ratio, our length ratio is 12 to 8, which we can obviously simplify if we want by dividing by 4 to being 3 to 2. Now, with regard to the base, our base of A is 9, and we need to work out our base of D. So it's following the same length ratio. So we're just multiplying by 3. So D is going to be 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, for part B, we're now going to have to start working or looking at our volume ratio. So let's go back to our ratio position. Our length ratio is 3 to 2. Now, to move to a volume ratio, we have to cube these numbers. So we're moving from length, which is 1-dimensional, to volume, which is 3-dimensional. So we are going to cube. So our volume ratio is going to be 3 cubed to 2 cubed, which is 27 to 8. And we're told the volume of B is 160. We need to work out our volume for A. So just comparing these ratios vertically, we can see that we're multiplying by 20. So our volume of A is going to have to be 27 times 20, which is 540. Now, 2 solid plates, P and Q, are mathematically similar and made of the same material. Oh no, I remember this one. This is quite tricky. I'm going to leave this. This is going to take ages to explain. Okay, tomorrow, which I think is going to be fairly busy, certainly at school. I don't know if anybody's going to bother streaming, but at school it will be busy. So I'm just going to, this will be the last one I do unless anybody comes through with some queries. So we've got to simplify this. So remember the square root of x is just x to the half. So we're really thinking of x to the half all to the power of 8. Now in one of these, you just multiply. For part B, we need to undo this division by 3. So how do we undo it by 3? We're going to multiply by 3. So on our left-hand side, that's still 6 plus 4y, because we've undone the dividing by 3. So we're left with 6 plus 4y. Multiplying the right-hand side by 3, both of these terms by 3, we get 15 minus 6y. Now, I think it's going to be easier to move all of my y's to the left-hand side, because that's got the greater number of y's to start with. So it's just going to keep everything positive. So I'm going to choose to add 6y to both sides. So at that point, I get 6 plus 10y equals 15. Take away 6 from both sides, I get 10y equaling 9. Divide by 10, I get y equaling 9 over 10. And for part C, I'm being asked to make G the subject. Now, these are good. I enjoy these. So first things first, we've got to get all the terms with G onto the one side and all the terms that don't have G onto the other. So let's get all our terms with G onto the left-hand side. So let's take away GH from both sides. So G minus 1 minus GH equals 3H. And then let's now add 1 to both sides. So we get G minus GH equals 3H plus 1. So I've achieved my first objective. I've got all my terms with G on the left, all my terms without G on the right. We can then factorize our left-hand side and take our G outside the bracket. And that's going to be 1 minus H, because G times 1 is G. Get the sign right, it's minus G times H is GH. That equals 3H plus 1. And then making G the subject, we just want it to be G equaling something. We can then undo this dividing by 1 minus H. So we get 3H plus 1 all over 1 minus H. Okay, I think at that point, considering how quiet it is, I'm just going to call it a day.